Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Campion and I'm here again with Jane Bear. And we are going to talk today about how our energy field is changing, evolving, you know, and as we shift in, we go through the ascension and we shift into these higher states of consciousness. We're super excited to have this conversation with you and to welcome you back. So if you're here listening live, pop your comments into the comment section because we can see them and we would love to respond to questions, comments, and just hear from you what you think about it. So welcome again. And hey, Jane, good to see you
Hi,
again here.
nice to see you again. Always fun to be here,
I
especially talking
know
about all things energy.
all things energy and all things quantum and all things quantum energy,
Hmm.
right? So we wanted to talk this time about how we were noticing as energy healers and psychics that as we shift into these higher stage of consciousness, our energy anatomy is evolving too, and that's changing. And what we've had is sort of like the textbook of our subtle bodies is just evolving, and we really discovered that in this first year of teaching in the Quantum Mystic Mystery School, right, Jane?
Yes, yes. I feel like we got a lot of emergent downloads, things that were constantly shifting and changing, which is really cool about the school itself, but also about just this topic in general.
Yeah, I mean, I've been teaching the chakras for a really long time, and um, just this, the traditional seven chakras, and then seeing there's so much more to our energy anatomy. There's the meridian system and the layers of the energy field. And in the one of the things that I thought was the most interesting that we came across in teaching last year was like we work with the four bodies, the physical body, the emotional body, mental body, spiritual body. And then I always see kind of like the external, like the boundary layer. Um, and all of a sudden we noticed that there's this new body that I don't know, we call the quantum body because that's what it seems like. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jane, I'm seeing this new thing when I'm doing readings for people and when I'm doing energy healings for people. As we shift into more of this fifth dimensional energy, there's the quantum body." It was so cool, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think, the way that we perceive is like similar but different. And I would just see this thing that was sort of like interacting. It was like an interactive field.
Mm,
And
yeah,
I always say that it's really hard for me to put words on energy.
yeah.
You are much better at it than I am. But but it's like this, it's like this energetic and informational field that is really underlying in our physical existence, but it sort of it's sort of interacting with the unified field of that infinite possibility that we call the quantum field.
Yeah, so cool. And like we know that when we talk about the bodies, it's like layers of our aura, right? And there's so many different models and the way people talk about the layers of the um, energy field. But I was always seeing the physical body, which is like a little bit off, like 6 inches off our actual physical body, and it sort of holds all the information, the energetic imprint of our physical body, right?
Hmm.
And the emotional body holds the our emotions inside of our
Hmm.
energy field, and the mental body is like where our thought forms, the thoughts and beliefs and things. And then the spiritual body, which is also sometimes called the light body, has more of our karmic patterns, our lineage things in it. And when we're doing healing work, we're working on these levels of our being is really what they are. And then, like you said, the quantum body helps us engage more with, we talk in the energy medicine school, we talk about the quantum self, you
Hmm.
know? And like what can you say about the quantum self? Like, well, there's the higher self, but then almost above that is like a higher evolution of our higher self is the quantum self. And how is do you think that the quantum body is where the quantum self interacts with us?
I do. Oh, I do. And I think it's where, consciousness itself um, is, and we're sort of being influenced and influencing the quantum field from that place. And I don't know, it's like this living bridge or something that's connecting spirit and matter.
Mm,
And I think that that's that interaction that we talk about,
yeah,
of our energy field with pure consciousness, with the universe, with the quantum field, whatever really you want to call it. I'm sure they're all nuanced, but
right.
um, I think it's like that. It's still part of our energetic anatomy, um, and and it really becomes that like multi-dimensional layer.
Right. And I think we talked in the last live we did about like manifesting and like how
Right.
we use, the as we stretch into these new layers of consciousness, how our ability to manifest things change, right?
Yep.
So for me, like the quantum body, the quantum self is that part of us that's connected to the, I wouldn't say totally limitless possibilities of reality, but nearly limitless possibilities. Like what is the full possibility set for us in, in this world? And I think, the the masters, prophets and saints knew how to access that, which is why they could do miracles, like why they could turn water into wine or create, manifest. I think about Sai Baba like manifesting Vibhuti out of the palm of his hand, and
Hmm.
I think that when we have access to the quantum field, we can tap into that possibility set. We get an expanded possibility set and we can tap into it.
Yeah, it's just like Neo in the Matrix when he finally gets it and like I mean, he becomes consciousness itself and like turns it everything inside out. It's like that
Yeah,
pure awareness.
love that. Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. Someday
Someday.
we'll be in the I mean, we're already in the Matrix,
We're
right?
yeah, we'll be like bending over backwards and hopefully not
Yeah.
dodging bullets because that would suck, but
Well, let's just not do
you
that.
know. Um, yeah, so I the other thing that's so interesting is part of this sort of this there's a quantum body, but I've been noticing because I've been doing these quantum group healings, and I
Yeah.
work through the chakra system when I do that, and
Mhm.
um and I was working a lot like in the upper chakras and noticing there's a lot more going on up there than I ever noticed before, and so I see other chakras above our heads, and I can perceive 7 chakras above our head and 7 below our feet. Um, and to me that my question is it just my perception that shifted? Like I'm getting better at seeing them. They were always there and I'm getting better at seeing them. Or are they developing? They weren't there before. And now they're, as we're shifting our consciousness and into these higher realms, they're opening, which is what I think is happening, but it's probably a little bit of both. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I my belief is that the potential of them was always there, but they were
Mm.
almost dormant, you know?
Yeah.
And they were waiting for humanity's collective consciousness and each individual's consciousness to sort of rise to the occasion, so to speak. It's like when we do our own work and we're like living that narrow path, we're almost granted. I, there's I don't know, that's just how I see it. We're like granted the access to um, these other chakras,
Mm.
and I think that's true. That can be true for other things too. But I don't know. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that explanation.
Yeah.
And because we know about the eighth chakra, which is like really at the very top of your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's called the sun star chakra.
Mm-hmm.
I see that as really like the connection point for uh our guides, our higher self kind of comes in there, or like when we get receive guidance from our spirit guides, they sort of sit in that chakra.
Yeah.
And so I've been aware of that one for a long time. And when I started doing these quantum healings, I was like, oh, above them, there's these two that I see as silver and gold colored, and that the silver colored one is like where our lineage. I think they both belong to the Akashic records, so they're like
Mm.
where the records of our incarnation and our family lineage is held in there.
Mm,
And so when I do like these quantum healings, like I clear on that level, like clear the lineage patterns
mhm.
and clear the karmic patterns on whatever it is we're working on. And the more I've done that, I'm like, oh, there really are like portals. So almost like the chakras that are above our head are like portals into
Mhm.
that allow grant us access into these different realms. That's how I see it or
Yeah,
experience it.
and it makes perfect sense. So when you think about each of us as the onion, right? And the
Mm,
more that we peel away the onion, the more that we work on our own karma, the more we're gonna actually need to access the Akashic records or the
mhm.
those higher states so that we can get more granular into the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we think about like the dark ages, I mean, it was just survival. It was pure, it was very material world. And so we just we didn't really need to be doing that work. We didn't need access to all of that. But as the collective consciousness rises, um, it becomes more important for
Yeah, there's
survival of
some I don't
humanity.
know if this is true, but it says like there are some people who say that it's an interesting theory that, as humanity's evolved, we spent a long time really only in the lower three chakras because that's the
Right,
survival thing.
right.
And then we really didn't access the heart. It was like Jesus until Jesus came in, he opened the heart chakra for humanity and,
Yeah.
allowed us to strive up into that plane of heart-centered, compassionate living. And I don't know if that's true, but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go down a whole rabbit hole about, people who have come in, whether they're coming in sort of as that implant or that like spark with purpose to help humanity to again raise its
Mhm.
collective consciousness. And I think that Jesus was one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I see like and it's so funny when try to look at them psychically, these chakras above the head, because they don't look like normal chakras. They do look like portals or gateways. They're very multidimensional looking. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like looking into like this ever shifting like little portal up there.
Mm,
And the ones that I see are above that are like more connected to like our universal connection. So,
yeah.
they're like connecting up and there's like a galactic one I think that connects us into like especially star seeds. If you're a star seed, you probably have that one
Hmm.
active that kind of brings in our our galactic friends, our galactic team,
Hmm.
like off planet spirit guides who are I think are around watching over, watching and helping this very delicate point in our ascension, and then they kind of go up from there. That they're just like finer and finer and attuned to higher and higher frequencies.
Hmm.
Um, and they're really. I always wish I could like paint or do it. Like I should ask like AI to do an AI rendering of what I see because it would be
Uh-huh.
fascinating if we could visualize it the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's worth saying like just the practicality is it doesn't really necessarily influence our daily lives. Like there's
Mm,
no, better than because we have access um to these like the 14th divine chakra.
mhm.
And I think that they're essential, but it's also you know, it doesn't really help us doing
The
adulting.
laundry, doing the laundry.
Yeah.
In fact, you might have to come out of those to do the laundry.
Yeah.
You have to, like, drop down into the lower chakras to do, like, the day-to-day life, and I do think there are some people where that's really hard for them, the star seed type people and
Yep.
angelic kind of people who are, like, have maybe more access to those, and they're like, "Don't make me come down into those lower chakras, ew," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and
Who yeah.
that's what we're here for. I mean, that's what we're here for, but to do both, I think.
To do both and like balance that. It's like that bridge that I was saying earlier. It's like how do we
Mm,
bridge the to be human and to really accept that we have this like material body, um, and to really be here doing what we're meant to be doing, and then which is being human, and at the same time raise our consciousness and
Yeah.
remember who we truly are. And I agree. I think that, the star seeds, and just the beings who really haven't spent much time on this planet, it's harder to be in the physical form for sure.
Yeah, I think you're more in that pattern, you have that a little bit of that in you, Jane.
I've accepted. It's taken me a while. I've
Yeah.
accepted and I love this form.
I'm kind of like, "Yeah, planet Earth," like, "Alright, we're gonna do that again, okay." Like, it's kind of fun down there. So it doesn't really, I don't know, I don't have that same angst that a lot of the starseed people have, with just,
Right?
like, trying to be in a physical body on the planet and trying to human is really a challenge,
It's
you
really a
know?
challenge. It's been really
Yeah,
a challenge. Yeah.
yeah.
But challenge accepted finally.
You do it well.
Thanks.
And then I think that's so interesting because, of course, we have, like, the 7 ones above, we have the 7 ones below our feet,
Yeah.
and there's the Earth Star chakra, which just like the sun star sits at the bottom of our
Yeah.
energy field, and it's really good to know about that one when we do grounding work. It's
Yeah.
good to connect down into that one, and it looks different to different people. To me, it always has sort of like a garnet color, like it's a
Mm.
little darker red than the first chakra, which is like fire engine red,
Mhm.
and that Earth Star's like a more of a brownie or, burgundy red.
Mhm.
And that I just think that, you know, like it's where we really like plug into the energy of the planet because the planet
Yeah.
has its own frequency and its own energy, and then the chakras kind of go down from there. And less clear on them. Like I spend more time looking at the upper ones, but
Mhm.
I think there's one that connects us into um the other people call it the Gaia gateway chakra, which I kind of like that.
Mhm.
And it connects us really directly to the earth's wisdom, like shaman. It's sort of like the shamanic realm,
Mhm.
the collective consciousness, our subconscious, our connection to like earth spirit, the guides and guardians that are belong to the earth.
Mhm.
So it's almost to me, it feels like our gateway into that realm of the planet. It reminds me of if you ever seen the movie Avatar,
Yeah.
the planet like Pandora, like they plug into the actually
Mhm.
the energy of that's what it feels like to me. That's in
Yes.
that lower one.
Yes, that's exactly. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's how I see it too. And it's funny because I hadn't thought about that, but the plug-in, when I'm working, with somebody and I see that energy, I actually feel like there's like like I like you need to almost hook them down, and
Yeah.
also hook them up, but it's that earth star and that, you know,
Mm,
that Gaia gateway sort of like, because people are so resistant to being fully grounded. A lot of people, most people, to be fully in
yeah.
their bodies. And so there's almost like drawing the energy. And I don't know, I always see it as like you hook them in. Um, and as a really like supportive, it feels really good. It feels
Mm.
really amazing to actually be in that connection to the collective on that sense, because I mean that's the consciousness of the planet, right? Um,
Yeah. And it's very different from the consciousness of humanity,
yes.
and the consciousness of the planet is so much cleaner than the consciousness of humanity, like,
Yes.
that's tricky. It's the
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
humans are we're it's a bit tricky, sticky, it's full of angst and fear at the moment,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the consciousness of the planet is just like this beautiful,
Mhm.
nurturing, loving, I mean, fierce sort of
Mhm.
circle of life kind of energy,
Mhm.
but, it's clean to me. I for don't feel fear about that. I feel more fear connecting. I'm a little afraid of plugging into the collective consciousness of humanity.
Mm.
But I always say that it's like spirits never really scared me, but people scare the crap out of me on a regular basis. So I don't have that same fear. I'm like, oh, when I plug into it, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, God. Like that feels so
Yeah.
much better.
Yep. I think that's in that same way of like an ascended master. I mean, I believe that Gaia as her own consciousness, um, has reached a level of ascension that is of course helping humanity raise its own ascension. So when we're just in that energy, in that vibration, it's so it's so cosmic, really. It's so clean. It's
Mm,
without, the human angst that you're talking about, of the human, of the
yeah.
collective consciousness. It's just, and that's why I think, you know, so many and ancient beings, indigenous culture, indigenous people always turn to the earth.
Yeah, come from the earth, return to the earth, and
Yeah.
I'm really like, that's a plane that they don't leave. You know,
Right.
we've sort of disconnected from it as
Yep.
sort of Western humans, in the Western world, living in houses and wearing
Mhm.
rubber on the soles of our shoes. It disconnects us from the human resonance and
Right.
like, outside, and of course, not everyone's like that, but many of us are.
Yep.
And I know that I remember the first time I ever felt that when I was really little. My parents lived in Vermont. My grandparents lived in Vermont.
Mhm.
So I was visiting them and lying in this field in their backyard and looking up at the sky and feeling I we used to tell my parents I could feel the earth moving, like the
Mhm.
spin of the earth. They'd be like, "You can't feel that. Nobody can feel that." And I could feel the I actually made myself sick once by like
Mm.
you were on a super fast merry-go-round. I was like, "Whoa."
Tapped
Um
into it.
Yeah, and I could feel it, like, through my body, like, through my back, like, it felt like a heartbeat or a pulse
Yeah.
of the planet, and, it's harder it was so easy for me to feel as a kid, and it's harder. I really have to work. Like, I have to leave my house, I have to go out in the woods, I have to, like, walk around. It takes me 20 minutes of walking in the woods just to drop all the stuff out of my field, and
Mhm.
I have to breathe, and then I have to lie down on the ground or put my feet on the ground, and then I'm like, "Okay, there it is,"
Mhm.
and I just feel unwell if I go too long without reconnecting to that.
Absolutely. I think everybody does. They just shut off from it. And that's why in just about every other culture, the prescription is actually to go out in nature. You have forest
Mhm.
bathing, you have all these different if you're feeling unwell, you go out in the sun.
You go to the
Um,
beach, you take
you
the
go to
sea
this
air or the mountain air, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Because there's this symbiotic relationship that we're always in, and if we disconnect from it, I don't know, it leads to the very like fast paced um, world and existence, at least in Western culture, that we are experiencing.
right. Yeah, it's can be very
Yeah.
disconnected, sort of lonely, and and that's so
Hmm.
interesting to me because I know both the upper chakras and the lower chakras are like how we connect to our source energy. Like we have
Yeah.
2 sources of energy that are constantly available to us, right? We can
Yes.
pull up the energy of the earth and use it to restore ourselves as sort of the kundalini energy, the shakti energy, and we have this divine energy directly from source we pull down, and we're like little like batteries. We're transducers that are this bridge between heaven and earth, right? That we
That's right.
literally run through our chakra system, and we, don't we forget or we don't know how to fill ourselves, how to reconnect and tap these sources of energy that create our vitality, and so I think
Hmm.
we forget how to do that. We just get all desperate and empty and burned out, and then we try to steal energy from other people and
Yep.
you know, lean into our more of our addiction type,
Hmm.
I'll have some sugar, I'll have another cup of coffee, I don't know, whatever. All the things we do when it's
Right.
such a fundamental part of who we are as humans that I don't know, we forget if we don't pay attention to it.
100%. And I feel like that's why we're experiencing, or we're seeing so many things like the rise of anxiety, even in kids, is because of that disconnect.
Yeah.
And a lot of the children coming in are much higher consciousness, higher vibration than um, generations before. And so they're already coming in with all of this energy and disconnected from the earth. And really, I see, the earth, our ability to ground into the earth is like our tending to our nervous system.
Yeah.
And we that's how I think that's like the direct medicine, if you will, of being able to hold those higher energies, is because otherwise we'll fry our nervous system, we'll fry our, and I think people do that a lot with plant medicine. Is we need to have that grounding in order to hold those higher energies.
Yeah.
And
We've burned out our nervous systems and just we're in fight or flight all the time.
that's right. And
You
if
know?
you just spend some time outside in the present moment, connecting to that Gaia energy, I think that a lot
Right.
of things would
And being like
change.
a little quiet about it. Like, because you
Yeah.
can go outside and just bring your earpods with you and listen to a podcast and not get it.
And totally out of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that doesn't work that way.
Wow. Right. And it's like putting down the phone, the devices, the like just taking a breath, like breathing.
Yeah.
And it takes me like a good 20 minutes of like, I don't know, like dropping into it of like feel like disconnecting from all
Yeah.
of the things and being like, okay, there I am. And here I
Yeah.
am on the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to the quantum body, I think like the awareness of it is really important because, um, then we're, you know, along what we were just talking about, we're sort of claiming responsibility for our own energetic state,
Right.
and really recognizing that, one, if we take back the power, our own personal power, that we influence, and we're constantly being influenced by the collective consciousness, which could totally make us feel anxious all the time,
Oh yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
when we are conscious of our quantum body, it helps us really embody presence and purpose and harmony, um, and to really be able to navigate challenges, which is every day, with clarity and resilience and grace. And I think that being able to sort of, again, hook ourselves into the earth is an important part of that.
Yeah, and I just want to put a little pitch in for the Quantum Mystic Mystery School here. And because if you want to learn more about this stuff we're talking about, we talk about it a lot in this Quantum Mystic Mystery School that we run. We're starting a new class in June. So this is the time we're accepting new students. And if this is a conversation that's interesting to you, you want to know more about yourself, learn more about yourself, and how to kind of be that bridge between heaven and earth and access your quantum body and do all this is what we talk about. This is what we do in that school. So we'd love to have you to join us for this coming up year.
Yeah, it's super fun. We're taking, year one new enrollments, and it's going to be it's a really, really, I love it. I think that people who have been a part of it really love it. Um, and you know, these conversations I feel like are really important at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful pathway to, if you feel like you're swept up in the ascension energy and you know that's happening for you, like how nice is there to have a guide, a mentor, a group, a community, a cohort, a process, a container to be held in for the 8 months that we run the school. So it's so much more fun than thrashing your way alone through it by yourself. That's just what I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like one of the things that you're really great at and we've done together is creating community. And
Mm.
so, um, you know, if for those who are on this path, whether it's been a while, you've been doing it for years, or you're brand new to this sort of awakening and ascension process, like this is you're going to be surrounded by like-minded people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. So you can check us out, quantummystic.com, and um, we'd love to have you in there. And thank you so much for having this conversation today, Jane. And thanks all of you guys who are watching. Um, yeah, it's always beautiful to talk to you.
Always so fun. Always so fun.
And we will see you next time around.